What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Benfica podcast, episode number 262. Here we are, another Tuesday, another night, another podcast. I'm here with Steve Santos. How
Hello,
you doing,
hello.
Steve?
I'm good.
And
Yourself?
I'm here with one of two Oliveras, Cristiano
Hola.
Oliveira,
Ay, what's the shoulder? Hola. What's going
and
on, everybody?
our second Oliveira is David Oliveira, our brand new stats guy. David, welcome.
How's it going,
Th-
everybody?
Thank you for volunteering to do this very crucial job, yet almost like an unsung job, if you will. I understand you're from Canada. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yep. So I am from Canada. I'm 25. Huge Benfica supporter. Both my parents are from Portugal. Was just there for the first time actually this past summer. Got to meet Julio Cesar. I'm sure we're going to talk about him tonight, and just looking forward to helping you guys out on the podcast.
Excellent. So Dave is mostly going to be in a background, feeding us some stats and fact checking some of the garbage that we say.
I was going to say, calling us out for our bullshit.
So we welcome David and we wish him a lot of luck, and hopefully this works out. Sorry to all the other guys that applied for the job. Unfortunately, I think we got a good candidate.
There's never too many Oliveras, bro. And so
that's right.
Not biased here, but that definitely helped.
Yeah, definitely. It's an Oliveira. All right. So on tonight's podcast, we will be briefly discussing the CSKA game. We'll also look back at Benfica's game for the league against Vitória de Setúbal this past Sunday, and we'll look ahead to the big game this Friday, the Clásico at Estádio do Dragão, where Benfica will play the local team there. And among other things, we'll also look back at Jonas's 100th goal for Benfica, and also the topic of the hour today, Julio Cesar rescinding his contract, mutually rescinding his contract with Benfica. We'll discuss a little bit of that, and we may have and we'll have time for some Twitter questions. If you're watching us live or on Twitter or whatever, just hashtag Benfica Podcast, and we will interact with you. We'll answer some questions. We'll answer the questions as best as we can. We see a lot of questions coming in already, and some of the stuff that we've been talking about, but we don't mind repeating and offer another view of what we think. So let's go. Let's start with the CSKA, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this CSKA game because I think that the Champions League has been over for Benfica for quite some time. But lost 2-0. Very, very poor performance by Benfica. So it is what it is. I don't think that Benfica really went into this game thinking that they actually had a chance to qualify for the Europa League. But it is what it is. You still gotta show up, and you still got one more game.
It's not. It is what it is. It's a freaking embarrassment. That's what it is. The fact that you go winless in the first 5 games, it's the first Portuguese team ever in Champions League competition to go 0 for 5 in the first 5 games, come out with 0 points. It's embarrassing.
I agree. I think it's the first number one.
And I'm just getting warmed up.
It's the first number 1 seed also to finish the group with 3 points
yet.
or less.
Oh, 3 points or less. Okay. It's an absolute. I mean, it's embarrassing. Look, I understand that you could go on and off, and Portuguese people in general love to put the blame on the referees and the linesmen, the estudo. But at the end of the day, look, we did not show up for any of these games. It was an embarrassment. We should never lost a game at home to CSKA. Then we got slapped around in Basel. Then, okay, we had a semi-okay performance at home against Manchester United. Kind of, didn't play too bad as well. Also, kind of showed up a little bit, but not expected to do much at Old Trafford. And then you go out to CSKA Moscow and get slapped around once again. This is an embarrassment. Rui Vitória, if he doesn't win the title, his job, in my opinion, should be up for dispute. Everybody associated with whomever the hell was involved in this transfer window and the transfer planning over the summer should be up for question. I'm not happy with those results. It's an embarrassment. I go on especially on this podcast, I go on and on and on about how Benfica needs to show up for these games and win these games because you have the responsibility of representing Portugal and the responsibility of representing this shirt right here.
Yeah.
And they did not represent themselves well enough in this competition this season.
Yeah. Do you realize that Rui Vitória in his last 3 years, right now, he's at the same level as he was last year, and actually
Points-wise.
better than his first year points-wise, 29 points.
I understand that, but the way the club has played, there's been too many questions. We've talked about too many of these failures over the time. He's gotten bailed out year after year. He had a tremendous first Champions League campaign with Benfica when they went to knockout stages, after the knockout stages, right? With the head-to-head with Bayern. Yes, they represented the quarters, whatever it was. They represented themselves well enough, and he's been living off of that performance ever since. In Portugal, last year, his first year, he crawled to the finish line. Last year, same thing with Porto, kind of tripped up themselves on the way to the finish line. This season, we've dropped points in places where we shouldn't have dropped points. And I understand at this time last year, we're at the same 29 points. I get it. But every single season, there's a different story to a season. I can't keep going back to last season, comparing it to last. It was different teams. Sporting and Porto weren't as good as, especially Porto was nowhere near as good as they are this season. Every season has its own story. And to compare it to last season, fine, that's great. But look, we're going to get into this a little bit more. Obviously, Benfica going into Porto on Friday. We'll get into that. But the importance of this game coming up, in my opinion, is ginormous. And I'll be quiet because I'm moving on. You love when I do that. I'll be quiet.
No. Cristiano, the biggest thing for you, and I think that this is something that I've always detected with Cristiano. So Cristiano's got a lot of friends that are Americans from other nationalities, so on and so forth. So Cristiano's always been a huge defender of Benfica. Has always been a huge spokesperson for the history and the grandiose of the emblem that is Benfica. And I think that when you're faced with a campaign like this in the Champions League, it's really embarrassing. And I can imagine how many phone calls you get.
I get that now. Wait, yo, hold on. How's your wait? You guys don't even have a point. Like, you understand? I took phone calls, right? I was on a national syndicated radio show. I took phone calls from all of North America. Every time I would love, we're talking about Champions League football, and I would throw in Benfica in there. And people mocked me for years. That's why going back to Portugal winning the Euro last summer, it was so ginormous and so gigantic. It was not just pride for myself, but now I could finally sit down at the big boy table and have a conversation. They can't tell me this is only for the big boys. And same thing with Benfica. After that performance with Bayern Munich, it looked like, yo, the sky's the limit. This team's on the right path. And now you go and you embarrass not just yourself, but the Benfiquista world on this globe. It's embarrassing. You're known as the team that is in last place, hasn't had a point in this campaign, and then Pinto da Costa comes out with, it is perfect, and it makes me laugh, and that's why it angers me. Of course they're going to talk about us that we got a new corruption scheme going on. What are they going to talk about? The Champions League? Like, do you blame the man? Come on. I mean, it's embarrassing. We're sport, Lisboa, Benfica, goddammit. I say this every time we're here when they go out there and embarrass themselves. Look, you lose to Bayern, to Manchester United, fine. You know, it is what it is. That's no embarrassment. But losing 5-0 to Basel? Losing to CSK freaking Moscow? Come on, man.
Steve, I will spare you.
Before the podcast, Chris said, I'm not going to talk, Steve. I'm not going to talk.
No, that's what you do. You get him started. Steve, I'll spare you from talking about this game. I don't think anybody wants to talk about this game. And as I mentioned, the Champions League has been over for Benfica for quite some time. And if for you, all you guys that still held out hope that we could still make the Europa League, I feel bad for you because you weren't realist enough. Anyway, so after the...
Not anyway. Hold on. We're not done. Steve, you know what really gets me pissed off, guys, is the fact that we've lowered ourselves. Okay, guys? Now, I'm serious, man. This is bothering me. And I know I'm talking
please don't talk about Benfica TV stuff. Please.
No, forget that. I'm not going there. We're lowering ourselves, right, to small victories.
Moral victories.
Small victories. Moral victories. It's a good thing that we're out of the Champions League and even Europa League because we want to fight for the campeonato. Like, you embarrass yourselves on a global stage.
Well, you got to find a silver lining in all this misery. Hey, look,
Glass
Cristiano,
half
I do
full.
get it.
Glass half full.
I
Chris.
do get it, man. I do get it. But I think that in the beginning of the season, when we looked at this roster and we looked at this team, when we saw the performances in the beginning of the season, we knew, and I said it here on a podcast, this team is not built for
I'm
Europe.
not asking this team to go and beat Manchester United at Old Trafford. I'm asking this team to show up and represent themselves with dignity. That's what I'm asking for. And you guys realize when these teams, these so-called monster teams, teams that once upon a time had the pride, behind them and had great history, and they started being okay and just being happy and accepting these little small moral victories, they've become accustomed to just little baby steps. There's no accountability. I don't want Benfica to stoop down to that level, because when we're okay with getting slapped around, losing 5-0 in Basel because, we're not good enough, that's when Benfica stops being that team that we all grew up to love.
Point taken.
Chris, I have to agree with you. Okay, the team's not good enough for Europe. Fine, not good enough to win in Europe. Not good enough to really get to the semifinals and make a point. But the team was more than good enough for me to get out of this group. CSKA and Basel are not. They're not very good. They just made us look. We made them look very good at occasions, but
even CSKA, we made.
Yeah, CSKA. I mean, in Portugal, I was at the game. They were bloody awful, but we were bloody worse. If in this last game, the last game, you gotta you don't want to get into that cliche. They didn't want it, but they really didn't want it, man.
Yeah,
those guys did not want to be out there in the cold. They had no desire. They were flat. They were just running through the motions. But there's a team there, or there's individuals there that were better than their rivals, and we should have been able to come up with better results than what we have. I mean,
I agree.
5 losses. So to say that, this team was not good enough to make a mark in Europe, I completely agree with that. But to say that this team should have done better than what it did, absolutely. I mean, it should have at least at the very bare minimum made points in Portugal versus CSKA. At bare minimum, not lost away from home against those two teams as well, because neither of those teams are very good. I mean, those teams are, in terms of player for player, from the way I see it, below our level in terms of organized units and whatnot. Okay, we might be in similar situations, but I wouldn't take many players off of those teams out to play for Benfica.
CSK does have 3 or 4 guys that would absolutely play at Benfica with their eyes closed, because that's a team.
You think so? Starting 11?
Absolutely. But I'll tell you this much. I agree with you. I agree with you that both of those teams are like what we call Benfica, a stepping stone to the big leagues, right? Those teams, the guys from Basel, hope to get to a Benfica level at some point. I do agree with that. That being said, though, CSKA Moscow has the deep pockets that they can afford players. They do have quality players. I don't want to take away from them. But the fact that Benfica has not shown up. I mean, Steve, we've scored 1 freaking goal.
Yeah, I saw it.
1 goal. The first game. Thank goodness. Thank goodness we scored that goal that first game, because right now we'd be at 0.
I know. I can only laugh.
Here's a great stat from David. Basel is second in the Swiss league, 7 points behind
David already earning his salary. He's already earning his salary.
So that just shows the level that we're talking about.
But we got smashed by Young Boys too in the preseason.
So. There you go.
That's preseason.
That's right in line then.
I know, Chris. I know.
I'm sorry.
Take that with a grain of salt.
Yes,
take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. Look, man. There is absolutely no reason why Benfica can't represent themselves with much better performances than this, with dignity. And this is not dignity. And this, all you're doing is making a mockery of the Portuguese league, making a mockery of your club, because people can't take you serious. Because I speak to anyone that's not, a fan of the Portuguese like we are, and the other thing they could tell me, man, it hurts, guys. Look, and this hurts to say this right now, but I know Porto won the champions. They're in the Champions. No, that's all they talk about. Again, they could be ignorant because they don't want to know more about the Portuguese league. But at the same time, the facts are that people throughout the world understand who Porto is. Nobody knows. And Benfica's, it's Benfica, guys. Yeah. And they go out there and they have an opportunity to show them against Manchester United. Everyone's paying attention to that. And you go in there, and that's fine. These kids need to get a run. I get it. But you're waving the white flag, leaving Jonas on the bench, leaving your best players on the bench.
Well, but I mean, he's been leaving Jonas for the most of the games. He played Raul both games against
Champions
Manchester
League.
United. So anyway, let's move on. After the match in Russia, Benfica was quite antsy to get back to Estádio da Luz to play Vitória de Setúbal, they had just played about a week ago for the Portuguese Cup, and they beat Setúbal, albeit not convincingly. I think that they had to score the second goal in the very dying minutes of the second half, and Coseiro felt that they were that the just result should have been a 1-1, so on and so forth. So Benfica was back, and I think I don't know how many guys noticed this, but that was something that Luizão did when he led the team out for the warm up, and it really seemed like something a leader would do. And it looked like he was really, really pumped up for this game, and he wanted to make sure that the fans saw that the team wanted to respond to what happened in Russia. So I'll give you the lineup. Varela was in goal. Almeida, Luizão, Jardel, and Grimaldo in the back. Fesa, Pizzi, and Krovinovic in the midfield triangle. Salvio on one side, Servio on the other side, and Jonas up top by himself. Now, Varela, who had gotten the start against Setúbal for the Cup, he then got another start in Moscow, and he was again back for this game. He's now the starting choice. Steve, let me ask you this, okay? And this is something I noticed, and you could tell me whether or not you noticed something. I noticed that there's a different type of confidence, and I don't want to say swagger because it's not a swagger, but I think the body language that Varela exudes shows him to be a little bit more confident. So I'm not sure what happened between the time he made the mistake against Boavista to the time he grabbed the starting spot, albeit Svilar was sick. But do you see something different in Varela?
He's looked a little less shaky compared to what had happened before. I think the fact that he's getting a second chance might be part of it. I mean, we all thought that he got dropped and we were never going to see him again after the mistake versus Boavista. So that might be playing a part where he says, "Oh, I really do have the confidence of the coach. So let me just be myself and do what I know I could do." That being said, to be absolutely honest, I think if Svilar is fit, I have a feeling versus Porto, even though the papers are saying otherwise.
It's a cold, dude. It was a cold.
Yeah.
How is he not fit for a cold? I mean, he comes back from a cold.
They said a flu. They said a flu.
Yeah,
if
but
he's good, I think.
fever.
Yeah, but does that really affect you? Once you're done over that flu, that doesn't really affect what you could do physically.
Which leads me to another question. That's something that we've never really, aside from, well, even then, you can never grasp, aside from like the stalwarts of the team, you can never grasp what Rui Vitoria's criteria is when he's choosing his lineup.
I got a theory, and Cristiano and I were actually discussing this. And I was actually on my way to work, on my way home from work today, and I was thinking about this because, I that's all I think about is Benfica, really. So anyway, my theory is that in knowing that Rui Vitória has the man management skills that he has, and we could all agree that they're very, very good. I think this is his way of keeping everybody motivated, because if there's a guy that's now not getting looks, not getting chances, there's a certain, he may get demotivated. Is that a word, Cristiano? Demotivated?
Unmotivated.
He might become unmotivated because he's not going to get the looks. Now, if these guys don't know, and from one week to the other, if they're getting their chances because they're working hard in training, then it keeps everybody motivated with an open mind. That is my theory, and that's why there's so much. I don't want to say musical chairs
with the goalkeepers. At least it's musical chairs.
Well, but with the left winger too. Same deal with the left winger.
Well, he's been doing that for 2 years.
There's no meritocracy to that. You don't see, like, what a fan can see is performances. So Diogo Gonçalves has played well enough. Why did he get dropped all of a sudden? What did he do wrong?
Zivkovic has played well.
Zivkovic has played jack nothing for what? Why?
But when
He's
he
played
plays,
well.
he plays well.
Exactly. So when you're on the outside looking in, what do you have to grasp and try to figure out what his methods are of to why he chooses this 11 or why he chooses this player? To say that he's trying to keep players motivated, I don't know, man.
That's my theory, man.
That's showing a lot of faith in the man.
That's my theory. My theory is that that's how he keeps these guys motivated, because you might sit 2 weeks, but by the third or fourth week, your chance might come.
Dude, I understand that,
with-
Alfredo, and that's not a bad shot on your part. But at
with
the same
guy
time,
who was playing having no chance or no, like, what does Villa do wrong to? Well, okay, he did stuff wrong, but we all know there's talent there as well. So why did he get dropped? Just because he had a flu and now he's better, he's not going to play?
yeah, I agree. Two things. Svilar, I think it's a risk. And that's why I don't like the musical chairs with the goalkeepers, because I think it's a risk to mess with someone's confidence level, right? And their mindset as an 18-year-old. I think once they made the decision to roll him out there, Steve, I think that's it. He's their goalkeeper. Unless, he's got a fever, that's fine, whatever. He can't play, but now he's back to 100%. And now Varela's playing again. And then the thing with the other players, with the wingers, bro, it brings you a lot of doubt in your mind. And when you're not playing freely, you're not just out there being yourself, it doesn't help. I know it sounds corny, it's simple, but it does not help. You need to be out there being yourself, playing free. And when these players go out there and they're thinking like, bro, if I make a mistake, I could get pulled at any moment. And I'm done for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a good look as well. Go ahead, Steve.
But he's also, I think he's feeding off the player's motivation, because a motivated player, a player that knows that at any time he could get his chance, is working hard in practice.
But
if you're working hard in practice, that translates to games.
Yes, granted. But there's guys that are still motivated that just have a bad day. You could be motivated and have a bad day. Sometimes you could be too motivated. You're trying so hard that everything comes off the wrong way.
But even the good days, they like, even okay days that you didn't play poorly, you're getting pulled off.
I understand.
And then someone else takes a spot, as if it's like, okay, you've played your 3-4 games in a row. Now I'm going to try this guy for 3 or 4 games. Now I'm going to try this guy for 3 or 4 games. It's never been okay, this guy's played well, so he's going to stay in the side.
Bro, Rafa was a healthy scratch for like what, a month, and all of a sudden he's playing again. Like,
and then he started playing again.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't get it.
Zivkovic played what, 5 minutes in the freaking freezing cold in Russia. It's like, okay, here you go, buddy. Go outside and do something. And then he played a lot more, I think, versus Stubel. Now I can't remember how much, but
came in the second half.
Yeah, but like 30 minutes or something like that, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, Zivkovic came in the 60th minute. Anyway,
Yeah, 30 minutes.
I
don't get it. The 6-0 scoreline, guys.
Let me go.
In order.
He also mentioned that Keaton Parks made the bench.
Yeah, he did. He made the bench this weekend for the game against Sport.
And let me also say that Vitória Setúbal stole 5 points. Took 5 points from Benfica last season. It was one of Benfica's bogey teams last season. And
so much has changed. Sorry to cut you off.
A lot has changed. Yeah.
Last year they took points from all the Grandes. This year they're one spot away from relegation.
Yeah.
Their president has just stepped down.
Resigned.
There's elections on the 21st. The team looks super flat and doesn't. I'm wondering if they're getting paid. They look poor. The 6-0 scoreline, it looks really good on paper, but I'm worried that we're going to take it to Porto as a false sense of security instead of just a confidence boost.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Pump your brakes.
First goal by Luizão. Luizão, first goal in the league in the past 2.5 years.
400 and something.
949 days. Could that be right? No, that's 3 years.
I thought I saw 400. I don't know.
494 could be
something like that. Yeah.
Was the last time he scored the one versus Tottenham when he went golfing? No. Was it?
No, I don't know. I think that it's quite no, it's 949. Here we go. Stats. David's got it for us. It's 949 days.
So it's 3 years. Or almost 3 years.
Yeah,
it might be that Tottenham goal.
2.5 years. No. Domestically, Steve. Domestically for the league.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's 400 and something days.
Yeah, overall, I think he scored.
I read that stat somewhere, and I just remember the 400.
Yeah. So Luizão opens up the scoring off a set piece, something that we haven't done quite well. It kind of opened up things. I think it was no, I don't think. I know it was an assist by Jardel. Jardel on a second post, putting the ball back into the first post, and Luizão free of a marking, just hitting the roof of the net with his left foot. So I'm glad he scored. I sure was pumped before the game and got Benfica on the right track just 7 minutes in. And Steve, when you score an early goal, things kind of open up for you. Even though Benfica has had a history of slowing down, of going to sleep after the first goal.
Well, they definitely came up motivated. I actually wanted you to elaborate on whatever Luizão did, but you can do it after this point.
I'm not quite sure, but
well, you said when he came out from the war,
was mentioning it.
Oh, I missed
Maybe it was something that was off camera.
Okay.
But I think when they came out for the warm ups, there was a
gesture or something.
It was a gesture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but there was an obvious need or want from the team to show a different face, to have a different tempo to their game, etched out of the luge in front of the fans after the CSKA game. There's no doubt about that. We still at times were not playing super well, but I think after the second goal, things got quite a bit easier. I don't remember a lot of chances in the first half before the second goal went in. Things just got a lot easier after the second goal and the sending off. I found that we, even in the previous match with Stubble, we seemed to create a lot of problems for them on set pieces. It looks like they're marking zonally, but not really aggressively enough, and that will always give you problems if you're not attacking the ball. And we caused them problems. So the 2 goals came from the set plays, and then everything just became easier. I mean, you had Pizzi finally showing up. I mean, the lineup.
He always shows up against bums
when he's got room.
Fine.
Playing against 10 guys.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna argue against that. He's had matches where he had room and he still was pretty poor, especially
this year.
Especially when it came to defining moments when he needs to make the right pass and find the right weight on the ball, et cetera, et cetera. He was missing that, but it was there on Saturday, or was it Sunday? I think it was Sunday. But that was all. Things just gradually got easier and better, and more and more the way Benfica went forward and the sending off, Benfica they had that spring in their step. And I liked it. I'm very happy that it happened. I don't want it to be now we're back. The focus has got to be 110% on Friday if we're going to get anything out of that match. Nothing's going to be nearly as easy as you saw at home with a crowd that was actually quite small by my reading of it. They said 47,000, but it looked, the stadium looked quite empty. But anyway, I like to see that triangle in the middle of the field. Yeah. That's one thing I gotta say. Jonas, Pizzi, Krovinovic. I'm a fan of that. I'm hoping that we keep that as long as we can.
Yeah. So we went into the locker room up 3-0. No, I'm sorry, 2-0.
2-0 and a man down for Stubble.
Yeah, Jonas having scored his 100th goal for Benfica, and it's quite a history here for Jonas in such a short span of time. He's also scored 10 consecutive league games, a record that he beat that belonged to Eusebio and Julinho. This goes back to the 60s. 33 years since that happened.
At 70s.
70s. So Julinho was 70s?
80s.
33 is 80s.
Yeah.
No,
so
80s.
David is on top of it. 33 years since that happened.
And he should have had a hat trick, by the way.
Well, I'm sorry.
The VAR,
33
years.
I'm sorry. Sorry to cut you out. It's been 30 years since another player in the Portuguese league has done it, and that was Fernando Gomes.
In
1994 and 85, he went on to score 14 consecutive goals.
14 games.
I'm sorry, yeah, 14 consecutive goals in 14 consecutive games. That's right. So Fernando Gomes from
So he's averaging 1 goal a game. See,
yeah.
Jonas scored more. Obviously, he scored 2 this weekend. He could have
Yeah.
had a hat trick, but the VAR obviously wasn't needed. It's only needed when it's against Benfica, not when it's in favor. I understand that. I'm just saying, Steve,
Right.
just pointing out facts.
But anyway, so 100 gold for Jonas, and we'll have a little bit of time to speak more about Jonas and the importance. But
Pistola.
3-0 in the 48th minute, and I think that after the second goal, and I think that you mentioned that, Steve, already, the team really turned on the style, seemed very loose, seemed to be very confident in what they were doing. A lot of good combinations, fast combinations, guys getting into space, guys getting behind the defenses. I mean, even Andre Almeida got in the action.
He could have scored 2 this game.
Yeah.
He had an opportunity, but shanked it.
Yeah.
The third goal for I believe it was Salvian. That's one of the better one of the better footballing moves we've played all season. I just hope that that's something, a sign of the future, a sign of things to come. Because if that's the case, then especially if we can get a result on Friday, we could still be in at least the league. So.
Yeah, so that's right. So Almeida, so let me go. Salvio 3-0. Jonas in the 66th minute 4-0.
Bomba.
Almeida 68th minute 5-0, and then Zivkovic for his first goal in the league 6-0 in the 87th minute to close out.
Come on, man! He gave the goalie the eyes. He thought he was going to cross
That
it.
was a P2 by
you hit that hard, dude.
I don't care.
You hit that hard.
Hit the goalie right in the palm of his hands. That's a P2.
I hit him in the chest. I think you knocked the wind out of him.
That was a P2. And then
I love it.
I've seen it. I watched the game.
It knocked the wind out of him because for a second he sat there on one knee.
That Cristiano let us Cristianos down. That was a bad performance, man.
So anyway, very important win for Benfica. And Steve, I tend to feel the same way that you do. I'm hesitant to consider that this team is a backup, is back
on the up,
back on track.
back on track.
Back on the track. Yeah.
I refuse to subscribe to that, but nonetheless, a game like this ahead of the Dragão game, and we'll get into that, is very motivating for the players. This is also something reassuring for these players who might have been lacking some confidence, that said, look at what we're capable of. Look at what we're capable of if we work hard, if we move, and if we play against 10 guys.
Nice one.
So for me, that's the big positive that you got to take. You don't think that now all of a sudden, because of this 6-0 game, you're going to go to the Dragão and you're going to spank Port 3-0. What you think is that there's a lot of positives that you could take from this game. The motivation, the confidence that you took from this game. I think that's something that you could take it and have a good approach.
That's the only positive to take away from this game, is that some of these players might have gotten their confidence back. That's it.
You don't think that's enough?
No, it isn't, but it's not. You're like a lot of. I don't think there's many positives. The only positive is they won 3 more points, and some of these players seem to be a little bit more comfortable. Because anytime you beat a Vitória Setúbal 6-0 at home against 10 men, it's nothing to chime home about.
Yeah, but here's
that's expected.
I got another positive for you, Cristiano.
Voila.
Jardel
played well.
Who has not been played
well.
Is clearly not in game rhythm. But these are the type of games that you could build up your game rhythm.
The one threat that Vitória Setúbal had was nowhere near the box. They never got the ball anywhere near the box to him. So I understand he played well. He did, and to stop that missile that they have on the right wing. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that dude is a fast dude. So he was able to keep up. No, nobody said he's good. I just said he's fast. The guy he's quick as lightning. And Jardel was able to keep up. He has a couple of positives, but I mean, come on, guys. Like, show me what you're gonna do on Friday. Impress me. You want to impress me? Show up on Friday and play with some tomat, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't you sit here and celebrate a 6-0 victory against Vitória Setúbal after you just got slapped around in Champions League football. That's expected. I don't give people credit. I don't praise people for doing something that is expected out of them.
Yeah, but Chris, I'm just going in line to what we've seen from this team all year this year. That this was a very confident performance. This was a performance that, like you said, was to answer the fans after that poor performance in Moscow. And I think that it kind of look, it reassures you that you could still play football, that this is still a team that when they play at their abilities, they could do it.
Fine, I'll give you that. So now they go to start, they're going to lose 2-0 on Saturday. What you going to take back from this game? Nothing. It means nothing. It means nothing.
Well, it depends how they perform.
Exactly. Well, if they lose 2-0, they're not performing very well.
Well, they could lose 2-0 and perform.
All
right, so
another small victory. Another small victory, right?
It is a moral victory.
before we get into the game, the Clásico, let's talk about Jonas and his 100th goal. It was actually 101. And we did a little bit of research. I did a little bit of research and Dave also helped. Very impressive. I'll break it down. He's in the company of some quite legendary names: Rui Águas, Eusébio, José Águas, Nené, Torres, José Augusto, Cardoso, Nuno Gomes, and Coluna. All those guys scored more than 100 goals for Benfica through their Benfica careers. So quite an impressive list. To me, he's probably one of the best foreign players to play for Benfica in this century.
I'd actually
Would you agree in this century?
I'd actually go out on a limb and say that he's the best striker that I've seen. He's better than Rui Águas. He's better than Cardoso. I mean, I didn't see the old timers play. So
better than Saviola.
Come on, stop. It's not even I mean, Magnussen. I don't believe he got to 100 goals, but he was
no.
Yeah, he had a tremendous career at Benfica. He's better than all those guys. So to me, he's the best striker that I've ever seen on a week in, week out basis with a Benfica shirt.
Yeah, 87 goals inside the box, 13 goals outside the box, 60 with his right foot, 20 with his left foot, 20 with his head, 18 goals from the PK mark, and 1 from a free kick. Are you surprised that he only had 1 goal from a free kick?
Yeah, I mean, if you had to ask if I was surprised or not, yeah, I would obviously pick surprised.
Yeah.
Steve.
He currently leads the league with 15 goals, 6 more than Abubakar and Das Bost.
But sadly enough, they don't count for nothing as far as the European golden boot or golden shoe, whatever it's called, whatever.
The country coefficient.
We're 7th now. And that's because of the great performances of teams like Benfica in the Champions League.
Who cares? Individual honors mean shit anyway.
So anyway.
Steve, it don't matter when you're trying to get a top-notch striker to come play for you and he goes, go play there, go play in Russia where I scored the same. And I get individual, because guys, now it's all about individual. When money's comparable, it comes out to individual performances and individual stats and awards. That'll matter, Steve. So believe it or not, at the end of the day, it does come back and matter.
Yeah. So let's turn our attention now to the Clásico that happens this Friday. Of course, the game takes place Friday because both Porto and Benfica play on Tuesday. In the last match day for the Champions League, of course, Benfica may as well as played on this game on Monday. That wouldn't matter if they played on Tuesday or not. They could have just sent the B team to play. Anyway, Porto is currently in first, as many of you guys know, and you should all know, 3 points ahead of Benfica. Friday, 8:30 local. Porto currently best attack, best defense, 31 goals scored, 5 allowed. At home, 23 scored, 3 allowed. And the matchups between Benfica and Porto, last 5 at the Dragão, 2 losses, 2 ties, and 1 win.
The Lima
for Benfica.
2-0.
That win actually came off of the last 5. So Lima, that's before that.
Oh, that's before that?
The league, the 1 win after came from a League Cup game, and Benfica won that game in PKs. As Dave pointed out, Benfica 86 wins, 59 draws, 91 wins for Porto in Clásico history. Also, Dave also pointed out that Rui Vitória has not beaten Porto yet
in his career, his coaching career. The
That's
only
right.
team in the Portuguese division, whatever, Portuguese league, he hasn't beaten yet.
Yeah, that's right.
And so to me, that leads me to my next point, which is all the pressure on this game leading into Friday is squarely on Rui Vitória's shoulders. He has to come over with the victory. And especially after the terrible, which much like go back to it, Champions League performances, after that shambolic, of performance of this club in the Champions League, he has to go out there. Benfica, at the very least, and I know you guys always hear me out, and I'm one of those go out and represent this team and go out and play for the 3 points. But at the very least, Benfica has to walk away with the draw. At the very least, they can't walk away from the draw on Friday down 6 points.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you, Cristiano, that the pressure is on Benfica because if Benfica does lose, albeit 6 points is still a very coverable deficit, I think that Benfica, now that they have gotten up to the 3-point deficit with Porto, being that Porto tied last game, and we really felt that Porto wasn't going to lose many games against smaller teams this year. Now that Benfica has this chance, there's definitely a pressure to go and to shorten the distance even more. And if don't shorten it, keep it the same.
6 points is unacceptable to me, and especially if you guys, those of you that are into the, all of a sudden into these moral victories, right? Talk about what that does to the confidence of these players, knowing that terrible Champions League. Anytime we go up against a big team, we get smacked. Now we go into our main rivals, we lose. Talk about what that does to your confidence. Go back to that 6-0 victory against Vitória, and it's pointless. They need a result come Friday. I don't care if it's 5-5, 10-10, a snooze fest 0-0. Benfica cannot walk away from Estádio do Dragão on Friday with 0 points.
Yeah. Steve, let's get your take on what Benfica need to do well against this Porto team this coming Friday.
Well, Porto's a team that they're super aggressive, very combative. They want to win all the 1v1 duels on the pitch. They're going to force you to play in such a way that there's going to be a lot of those 1v1 duels. You're going to see whether they're going to play 4-3-3 or 4-4-2. They're not going to give us any time to play the ball out from the back at all. So it's going to be a lot. I think, given the players that we have, Luizão, Jardel, Feza, those guys in that first phase of construction, you're going to have a lot of guys that are going to feel the heat of the Abubakars, Marega, whoever else they decide to play, breathing down their necks, and they're going to hoof it. And once they hoof it, you're going to have another 50-50 ball that you're going to have to fight tooth and nail versus the Marcanos and the Philippes and try to win that ball back. And that's what I think we have to do our best to avoid. If we go and make this game about 1v1 battles and aggression all over the pitch, Porto and the way that Sergio Conceição has these guys all riled up, they're gonna cause us a lot of problems, and we're gonna struggle a lot. We need to do whatever we can to get Pizzi, Krovinovic, Jonas. You got to get these guys in the game and on the ball and forcing their big combative midfield, because they haven't been playing with Oliver. They're not going to start playing with him now. They're going to have a bunch of big, strong guys. We got to try to keep the ball. We got to try to stamp our play onto them. My worry is we've never shown signs of doing that against. We've never shown signs of doing that against big teams, and that's what leaves me looking at this game, and we're extremely worried. We would have to really come out of our shells and play a confident brand of football, because in terms of ability and technique and smart players, I think we have the edge. I mean, Brahimi's a great player, but if you're leaving probably the most technical and brainy player that you have on the bench, that shows you when I'm speaking about Oliver, that shows you the approach that you're looking for, and that what your motto is and what you're trying to do. And I think that Benfica would actually struggle with that. I mean, 1v1 battles of an Abubakar versus Luizão, if they could single out to that's I mean, in the air, maybe not a problem, but on the ground, it's going to be tough. I'm hoping Ruben Dias is back, just because I think he's very good at those types of situations.
Those but you battles, can't play on Friday, Steve. You can't play on Friday. He hasn't played. He's coming back from an appendix. You don't know if unless this guy's going out 100% all day, every day at training.
The only person who would know is the people who are watching him train. And I agree. You're probably right that he won't be there. And I'd feel a lot more comfortable knowing that he that he had Rui Vitória's confidence, knowing that he was fit, than having Jardel there. That's my thing. Like I agree with you. He probably won't because of the circumstances. But if in training he looks good and Rui Vitória has confidence in him, I would feel a little bit better than having Jardel out there, personally. That's just my...
Look, where this game's going to be won is going to be in the midfield. Our 3 against their 3. Defensively, they're better than us. Even though we hate to admit it, you'll take Felipe and Marcano right now over Luizão, Jardel, and even Ruben Diaz, right? They're left back and they are right. Left back, ours might be a little bit better technically, but ours is always injured, and we never know what kind of a performance we're going to get out of Grimaldo lately. We know Tell's going to show up. He's a feisty SOB. He's going to be... And then on the other side, between Ricardo Pereira, Maxi, whomever the hell's playing over there, they're going to do their job. The question is, what's going to go down between the Pizzis of the world? Kravinovic is his first big game at Benfica. He hasn't played in the Champions League because they left him out of the list. He couldn't even play. So this is his real big first test at Benfica. Feja and Pizzi, I mentioned the 3 of them, against Herrera, against
Danilo.
You know, Danilo's a beast. It's going to come down to
Sergio Oliveira to be the 3rd guy.
It's going to come down to those 3. Is our team going to be, feisty enough? Are we going to be able to move the ball around with ease like we've done in these past couple of games against the Herreras and against the Danilos of the world? Pizzi needs to show up and play. Jonas doesn't have a great track record against these guys, against both of our big opponents. He needs to show up. Benfica needs to get him involved early and often.
I think Jonas has only scored 1 goal.
Might be just 1 goal. Whatever.
1 goal against Porto.
His numbers is terrible. His numbers is terrible.
Only 1 goal. There you go.
Yeah, his numbers.
Dave confirms.
Yeah, his numbers are terrible.
Only one goal.
And that came on a penalty in a game that we were at.
That's right.
The game that we're at. 2-0.
That's right.
The 1-1 tie at home
last year.
April 5th.
This past season.
April 5th. That came on a penalty. And then he ran to the sign. Remember, they said he bumped into Nunu, whatever, in this controversy.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that game.
Yeah.
But he needs to get involved, and so.
He's never scored against
To me,
Sporting.
it comes down to the midfielder, Steve. We need your boy, little game Pizzi, to show up in a big game. That's what it comes down to.
Little game Pizzi. I think that you guys hit on a lot of great points. I think that perhaps we could. I think the underdog factor, the fact that we're going to go play at the Dragão, is maybe something that suits us, because I think that Porto, and being that they're led by the guy that leads them, Sergio Conceição, that's what I'm talking about, and the feistiness and the fight that he instills in this team, I think this team is going to be over eager to really beat this Benfica team, a team that has taken championships from them for the past 4 years. I think this team is going to come out at Sergio Conceição's image and going to try to smash Benfica. I think the biggest thing that Benfica could do is defend well and see if they could try to take advantage of that over eagerness. I think that the high pressure by Porto is going to put a lot of stress on our defense, and we're going to have to be able to get out of those high pressure situations and get the balls into the midfield, into the Kravinovic, into the Pizzis, as Steve has mentioned, to be able to build out some kind of a game and to break down the traps and the high pressure. I think that's one of the keys for me. But I think that taking advantage of the high adrenaline game that Porto is going to come out and play and be able to hold off that initial pressure, those initial 20, 25 minutes, and be able to show yourself solidly as a solid defensive unit, and not somebody that looks scared, and not as somebody that looks like is going to lose by 3-0. Such are the opportunities that Porto is creating and some of the misses that they're having. I think that that's where we're going to win the game. I agree with Cristiano that midfield is going to be key, but for that midfield, we got to be able to play out of the back into that midfield in order for us to be able to play in the midfield and get Jonas involved, and get Salvio involved, and get Servio, whoever's playing on the left wing, involved. All of those guys need to get involved if we're going to have success against this Porto. Big question for you guys, and I think I know where this is going. Varela or Svilar? Cristiano.
I would actually roll the dice and go Svilar, but at this point, Varela has been playing. There's got to be some reason why Svilar is not playing. Maybe we don't know about. So that alone I guess go to Varela. Not that, and again, I've said it's not that I don't think he's a quality goalkeeper. It's just that at times he leaves me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Bro. It makes me nervous.
Steve.
I think I'd go with Svilar if I knew they were both aptly ready, like they're at the same level in terms of fitness. I would choose Svilar myself, and that's what I think is actually going to happen. I personally, that's my hunch.
Yeah, there's a couple factors, and I think that a lot of people are arguing for Svilar
I like the way he patrols the area behind Luizão better than Varela for starts.
But a lot of people are making a case for Varela, which I meant to say, because Varela has the experience. He has played against Porto before. Last year, he played for Vitória Setúbal against Porto, and he's very capable of, or he knows the importance of the game. Not that Svilar won't know the importance, but I think that Varela, being Portuguese and being embedded in this rivalry, I think he's more familiar with the pressure of the game. By the same token, this is something that he might not be able to handle, the pressure, being that he has shown at times that he's nervous. So maybe Svilar, which is also Dave's choice, maybe is the type of guy that will remain cool because he's not that embedded in the rivalry.
He's not that committed. He's not that emotionally committed. That's one of the angles that I like about the whole situation. I think he's the better keeper of the two, too, from what we've seen. But man, however you look at these situations, there's always pluses and minuses to both sides. So it really comes down to who's fit, who's better prepared. I personally think it's gonna be Svilar. Let's see what happens on Friday. I'll be stuck at work, so I won't be able to watch the game live. But I'll be looking for the lineup about an hour before.
$1 million question, Steve. Knowing Rui Vitória and the way he's juggled lineups, question is this: is he gonna go into the Dragon with Jonas or Jimenez? That's the one you guys should be looking out for. Call me Maluk. Wait, if he goes into Old Trafford,
Maluk, man.
I'm throwing it out. Look, I know who my guy would be. But that doesn't mean that's Rui Vitória's guy. I got to throw that question out there, Steve. And you understand why.
In the same token, if the game is going to be broken up into 50-50 balls and fighting for the second ball and all that, you could kind of see the reasoning that you would bring on Jimenez. But that's not the way I would approach the game. But if he does do that, I could tell you now this is what he's going to say why he chose Jimenez. If after a press conference, that's why he was going to choose Jimenez.
Wasn't Jonas on this team when Lima went in there and scored 2 that year, guys? Or am I because because remember he was starting and we're all like, why is Lima starting?
That was with Jesus, and that
might have been his first year, Jonas's first year.
I don't know.
I might be, but I remember if I'm not mistaken, Jonas was benched. And I remember Lima starting, and when Lima started, we're all like, Lima starting? And then he pulled off the miracle, scored 2 goals. Not the miracle, but, not the great performance. Look, all I'm saying is, knowing Rui Vitória and understanding that he can't drop points in this game, I wouldn't be surprised. We know Servi's going to play because he tracks back. We know Salvi's going to play because that's, teacher's pet. My only question in this game is whether Jonas plays, because we know the 3 midfielders. Left back, we only got 1. Right, the 2 center backs is Jonas and Luizão and Jardel, unless Ruben Diaz has his miraculous recovery. On the right side, it can't be Douglas. You know what I mean? It's got to be Andre Almeida. So the only question mark. The only
question mark is the center forward and the strike. I'm sorry, the center forward and the keeper.
But I mean, no way.
No, to me, it's not a question mark, Alfredo. To me, I'm playing Jonas.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get in his mind and going based on his lineups over the last 2 months.
Yeah, but I think that you have to go with the guy that has 15 goals if you win the game.
I completely agree.
We agree on that.
I think we're just trying to show what Rui Vitória might be thinking if he does something else.
That's Maluk, man.
Didn't he do the same thing last year, Steve, against Borussia Dortmund? He went with Jimenez.
But
all I'm saying is that I've seen him in big games do that.
I know.
That's all because he wants to implement the pressure up top, pressure. And Jonas puts pressure, but nowhere near the intensity and nowhere near the work that Jimenez puts in. All I'm saying, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he will go with Jimenez because we've seen him go with Jimenez in other big spots here.
Yeah,
that's all. In my mind, I'm filling out a lineup card. Jonas is my starter. No matter, he's the first name I put out there.
Yeah. Dave just put up a good stat on Varela. Varela last year.
Jonas on the bench for this. Like I said,
Yeah.
I know, and he shocked us all, and we were all shocked. How the hell does Jonas not play?
Yeah, Jonas was on but I think he had just arrived at Benfica.
That was his first year.
That was his first year, and he went crazy.
But I thought it was only in January or something when he started going.
He was there already, dude.
As I mentioned,
no, but I'm saying like
he started playing
when he started playing really well.
Late September, Steve.
Was it? I knew it wasn't like right away. That much I remember.
No, he came in right as the transfer window was closing. He signed as a free agent, and then
September
he really
1st
started playing late September. He started playing late, and the guy took off after that.
Yeah, Dave just threw up an interesting stat. Varela against Porto last year, 0-0 and 1-1. So, and against Benfica, I think he did solid too. If I can remember,
that was the struggle of last year.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know.
So my biggest thing is who's going to put it at left wing. But I think that at this point, Serve is going to get the start, unless he decides to go with Diogo Gonçalves. But
which wouldn't shock us because he's unpredictable.
But I think that to me, I think he would be very, 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 very stupid to put Jimenez instead of Jonas in a game like this. Cristiano, you want to guess on a starting lineup?
I just did.
All right, so
Varela, Almeida, Robocop, whatever the hell you guys call him.
Robocop.
Robocop was Fernando Aguiar. Who are you talking about?
Who's Robocop?
Never mind. I guess I got the nicknames mixed up, but I have a tendency of.
Who is it?
Jardel? Whatever. Batman.
Jardel,
whatever.
They call him Batman, I think.
No, they call it the Guerreiro do Luz.
Guerreiro, that guy.
Guerreiro, cara.
O Capitão.
É isso.
Grimaldo, Feja,
aí.
Kravinovic, o Pizzi, jogando com o Salvio na direita e depois lá na esquerda você vai jogar lá com o cara, como chama? O Serve. I'm messing around and forgetting names. And I do think he's going to go with Jonas. He has to go with Jonas solely based on form. The guy's been lights out. But I wouldn't be surprised, man, because if he's going to go into this game being content with giving away the ball, letting Porto have possession, and come on a counter,
Porto's going to have possession.
That's fine. So that would not be shocked if he comes in with Jimenez, lets Jimenez tire out the back line, put all the pressure on and then all of a sudden the last 25, 30 minutes, bring in Jonas with the finesse to slide it in there.
I know what you're saying. You bring up a great point. I can't imagine him putting Jonas on the bench when in a game like this. Anyway. My lineup isn't too far from that. I think that my lineup is the same one: Almeida, Jardel, Luizão, Grimaldo, Varela, Feza, Pizzi, Krovinovic, Servi on the left, Salvi on the right, and Jonas up front.
And in a game like this is what I mean about big games and playing that 4-3-3 without having the players. We'll see if these three guys are suited to playing a 4-3-3 in a game like this. Isn't a game that matters because you're going up against quality opposition in another 4-3-3.
I mean, I would love to see Zivkovic on the left, but I don't think he's going to put him.
No, because the other guy, he doesn't give him as many defensive assurances.
Anyway.
Steve's projected
I already know Steve's projected lineup is not too far from us.
Yeah, the lineup's the same. I'm very curious on how he's going to approach the game. Given the fact that, yes, I believe we should play that way, but if we stay deeper and play on the counter, it makes it harder for Porto to get the 1v1 spots on us, to get the individual duels. I mean, if we're tight together, two banks of four or a bank of five and a bank of four, since we're going to be playing 4-3-3, it might make us difficult to play through. It might make us more difficult. It might make it, when they do win that first battle, there's going to be a cover right away, where if we're trying to be a bit more expansive and try to play in a certain way that we're going to keep the ball more, we might be a little bit more spread out. So that's, for me, is the key. The huge thing, like you said earlier, is you got to find a way to survive that initial pressure, because the first 20 minutes, knowing the Porto that was out there this year, they're going to come out and really try to intimidate you and try to run over you. However we deal with this pressure, if we can still make it 0-0 after 25 minutes, I think the game's out there, and it's the favorite card that Porto has starts to retreat, and it's not going to be that big of like right now. Porto's a clear on favorites. Everyone in the media is saying it. They're playing better football. They don't look as shaky as us. But if after 25 minutes still 0-0, the doubts will set in, and hopefully at that point, if we just sat back, we'll be able to play a little bit of football, be able to get Pizzi and Krovinovic on the ball. So,
yeah, and we'll see how much of that initial adrenaline will eventually betray Porto and get them to tired legs. Also in the second half. What else did I want to say? Cristiano, we want to throw out a prediction result?
1-1.
Steve?
I don't want to be negative. 1-1.
Dave?
1-1.
Yeah, I'm going. I'm going 1-0 for Benfica.
Good for you. Good for you.
So anyway,
I'm telling you, my mind says 2-0 Porto, but
don't be a scared cat. Just say it.
Well, I don't want people to come out at me and say, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Blah 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 blah. You gotta be positive.
But maybe you're gonna be making some people some money if they go on BetClick. Not an official sponsor, by the way. Anyway, so that game happens as I mentioned this Friday. Don't forget to tune in. It'll be on Sportcus TV. What else do we got? And I think that's it. Let's get into today's news. Julie Cesar has officially rescinded with the club, mutual rescission for the club. 83 games, 69 goals allowed, 3 league titles, 1 Portuguese Cup. I mean that's quite a history there for a guy that played only 3 seasons. So in all 3 seasons, champion 3 times, Portuguese Cup champion once. As he mentioned that he lacked some motivation. Also, I don't think that the injuries and that he's always recuperating has helped him. But he's had to fight for a spot against these 2 hungry kids. So it's not easy for him. I think that he's been a very loyal servant of Benfica. I think that last year really showed his class because he realized that Ederson was at a much better and higher level than he was. But he never really put his head down. He always worked hard. He was also a mentor for Ederson, and we've seen a few outpours in the media and social media by both old coaches as well as old teammates. And one of them was Ederson, of course, that took the time and wrote something nice on social media. And the other guy was Hugo. I forget his last name now, which was Benfica's goalkeeping coach 2 years ago.
The long-haired guy.
Hugo Oliveira.
Nice shot. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the long-haired guy and the beard.
Supposedly Vitória pushed him out, but that's neither here or there. But that's fine. That's
right. He is now. I think he's the coach under Spirit Sant at Wolves.
Wolves.
Anyway, loyal servant. I got nothing but good things to say about the man. I don't think that anybody has anything to say about the man. Always been a class act, a mentor, a good human being. From what I can read in social media, from what guys have written. So a lot of sad people to see him go, but I think he's at a point that in his career, that playing at this level is perhaps something that's already beyond him. He's already up there in age, and I'm not really sure that he has it in him to compete at this level. He says he does want to keep playing and he wants to end his career playing. And that he wants to remain in Lisbon. I mean, if you guys follow his wife, if you guys follow his wife on social media, she owns a boutique in Lisbon, I believe. His son is also playing. I want to say for Bolonense.
She's been saying. I think it's Bolonense. She's been saying that for years too.
His daughter is also an athlete. I forget, for Benfica maybe. Volleyball, I want to say. I'm not really sure.
Well, I think that they're happy in the country.
Yeah, they're very happy in
she
Lisbon.
said that after his first year in Lisbon, that no matter what happens to his playing career, that they were going to stick around. She loves Lisbon that much.
Yeah. Anyway, one last thing. And one last thing before we get into the Twitter questions, and we promised we get to them. I know we ran a little bit long, but the Benfica Sporting game has been officially scheduled for January 3rd. I believe that might be a midweek game, without checking my calendar real quick. But yeah, it's been officially scheduled by the Liga Profissional Futebol
It's a Sunday.
Portuguesa. It's a Sunday. So
No, that's December.
Wednesday.
Sorry, it's a Wednesday.
yeah, it's a Wednesday. So Benfica Sporting, the derby at the Luge, January 3rd. So now let's get into some Twitter questions here. Cristiano, you got them up? I'll read them.
I got some.
Hold on.
Let
Hold on.
Steve do some work for once.
Sure.
Peraí, pá. Peraí.
Okay.
I got him.
Okay.
All right, here we go. The first one is from Il Capo Soprano, Malzão. With the sad immediate departure of the great Imperador Júlio César, do Benfica need to react with a signing in January? No, I don't think so. We got Villar and we got Varela, and it was also rumored that the German,
they're bringing a kid in January.
the
Apparently
German kid,
he's-
right?
I think he's Greek. He's playing in German. I think
Oh,
he's
okay.
Greek.
That's where yeah. That wasn't confirmed, but that was rumors
Yeah.
that he was at the Stadio Luz doing the medicals.
Yeah, I think he's
That
coming
was-
in January. Yeah.
That was like a month ago or something.
Yeah,
Vlachinovic or something.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Júlio César's departure is the fact that Benfica won't have to pay his salary anymore. But if you think Benfica is going to invest on something, you sadly
Now
mistaken.
they're gonna buy a new water fountain for Seychelles and talk about how it's the best in the world.
Is one from Mr. Mello. Is Zivkovic not starting a reflection on his performance in training? Or is it something deeper? Maybe a personal issue with a player and the coach? We don't know. We don't know how he practices. My theory, as I mentioned before, is that he tries to keep everybody motivated. But out of all the wingers, I think he's gotten the least amount of playing time, and
So one
I
with
think
the most
it's
talent.
yeah, it's the biggest enigma. Our guy of that talent has gotten much less chances than what Rafa has gotten, what Diogo Gonçalves has gotten, which should be playing for the B team.
I just think out of the five guys, Diogo, Salvio, Servi, Rafa, and him, he's the one I would say doesn't get back as much as the other ones. Who gets back the least? His defense, he gets back, but because he played left back a couple times last year,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But I think out of all those five guys, he's the one that tracks back the least. And so I would just venture and guess that might be the reason why these other guys are getting playing. Because Servi, you can't tell me Servi's playing because he's playing great. He's playing because he does the dirty work that I don't think Zivkovic does.
Yeah. Here's one from Tony Lima. Do you guys think we make a splash in January transfer market? I think it all depends. It all depends on where you're at.
David just mentioned someone. Yeah, they're gonna ship out Gabagol
Gabagol is going to be sent to
Santos.
the Dockers.
Going back to Santos.
Leave him in the clubs.
That's right.
So disappointing, but it's very disappointing to see a player with that kind of ability, that talent, and he just throw it away.
Do you wonder why he's not starting for Inter?
I just look,
Dude.
not to start at Inter is not exactly,
But-
an embarrassment, but the fact that he's thrown away that talent, that's what's embarrassing.
That's what a lot of guys do.
If you
Your
guys
boy-
take a look at the Julio Cesar video that went up today by Benfica Twitter,
He's
he
there.
passes by Gabigol's locker and he's nowhere to be found there.
No, I thought I
No,
saw
he
him.
was there.
Petchy was saying that he didn't see him
I
either,
saw him.
but I
He was
saw
there.
him.
He's there. He saw.
You
he
guys
held
saw?
up.
I don't think I saw
I
him,
saw
man.
Yeah, he was there.
Because he's got a big,
You-
thick beard. I didn't see any.
Yeah,
He was
bring
there.
up, bring
He was
up that video. I'm pretty sure he was there. Here's one. I think that the president has said that Benfica were going to the market, Tony. Here's one from Kevin. Should Benfica play the waiting game and counterattack or go full offense versus Porto? Logic will say that we have to withstand that pressure, but I've seen teams take opportunities like this and go on top of the other team because the other team is not expecting it. So we never know. We all know that Rui Vitória is a master tactician, so maybe he's got that under his hat. Not. Anyway, here's one from I don't understand this question. And Kevin, who was a Porto player, he wanted to ask us about the league punishing Braga with one game behind closed doors. I'm not sure what brought on this punishment, but I think I'm not really sure, Kevin, and I really don't want to comment without knowing exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, if it was Benfica, I'd be able to give you something, but Braga is not a team that I follow that close. Anyway, what else we got? That's it. That's it for questions.
Not bad. An hour and 10.
Cristiano, while Cristiano is looking at the Julie Cesar, yeah, he's there, man. He's there. I'm pretty sure he's there. He's looking. I thought I saw him, and Peggy
I
also.
saw him because I mentioned it to you before.
Yeah,
So-
Peggy had mentioned that he hadn't seen him there, but he's. I think he's right after Krovinovic.
Yep, there he is.
Yeah.
He
Is
doesn't
that
have a
him?
beard. He
Doesn't have a beard. Yeah,
Yeah, it's,
That's-
it's right between 20 and 18.
yeah, he's right off
Between Pizzi and
Are you
Salvio.
sure that's him?
Positive, dude.
between Krovinovic and Salvio.
That's exactly
Look,
what I
and
thought
it
it
says
Yeah, it's
was.
Gabriel-
11.
And it
Yeah,
says Gabriel B, bro. That's him.
Yeah,
He just
that's
doesn't have a
him, dude.
beard.
he doesn't
But
have a
that's him.
beard.
His beard.
You guys just messed up because you didn't recognize what I was being. But he
You
was
guys are all starting trouble. That's what it is.
you guys
Anyway,
are all paid by Sam TV.
David, it was a pleasure, man. Very, very helpful, man, with those stats, and you did a great job, man. You're hired.
David,
Pleasure's
You've
all mine.
passed the test.
get on Twitter with a short handle.
No, don't get on
Short
Twitter,
handle.
man. That thing will poison you. You haven't been on Twitter? Don't go on Twitter. I beg you.
Been there, done that.
Oh, so you gave it up?
Yeah.
Good, man.
Well, you need to get back there so we could get in contact. with
No,
you.
no, 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 no.
Just put a mask
Email's
on.
fine.
Put a mask on
No,
so we
dude.
don't recognize you.
We could do email, or we could add you to our WhatsApp chat.
Shh, don't give that away.
Anyway,
No, everyone's gonna want to be added to our WhatsApp chat.
Steve, useless piece of information of the day. I like to give one of these out after every pod. Did you know that Gabriel Batigol Batistuta is entering his first professional golfing tournament? He's turned a pro. He's
Crazy.
good with his hands as well.
I
Just
did not
figured
know
I'd throw
that.
in there. One of the greatest goal scorers of all time. Tremendous player.
yeah,
One of my,
I didn't
one
know
of my
that.
favorites. He was one of the least technical forwards I've ever seen, but man, could he smash
I
the ball
do.
in?
Smash the ball, dude.
Sing, sing.
Anyway, don't forget to visit our friends over at planetbenfica.co.uk. Also, I always forget to mention this. There's a gentleman and a good friend of the podcast that resides up in Canada. His name is Robert. He is the owner of RS Media. RS Media is the company that supplies us with our website and hosts our website. So if you guys are in need for a website, to check them out, RS Media, Google them. I don't have the address in front of me right now. I should be better prepared than that.
Google it,
But
David.
Visit our
Poor guy.
friend Robert, RS Media. So R stands for Robert, and I think S is for Santos, Robert Santos, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Another one of my cousins.
That's right. Don't forget to visit him. Cristiano Oliveira is at 10CO10 on Twitter. Steve Santos is at Steve Santos 6. At Benfica Podcast is where you can find the podcast Twitter. BenficaPodcast.com is where you can find our podcasts, also available on iTunes. Again, thank you very much for checking us out. Next week, we'll be back. We'll break down the Porto game. We will also break down, if there's anything to break down, the Basel game. And we look ahead to the weekend's game.
So we're on Wednesday next week.
No, maybe Tuesday. I don't think any of us will want to watch the game
I
against
won't be
Basel.
available on Wednesday.
Yeah,
let
so we'll
you
do
know
Tuesday.
now.
All right, we could talk about this off air. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody, for checking us out. David, great job, buddy. We'll hope that you enjoyed it enough to come back next week.
Yeah, hopefully we didn't
Sure.
scare.
Thank you.
All right, Steve Santos, Cristiano Oliveira, and Alfredo. See you next week.
Peace.
Later.
Ciao.